All right, folks, we got to get started. 6 o'clock. If everyone would stand, we will call this city council meeting to order. At this time, we have a moment of silence. Thank you. Ask Councilman Greg Hampton if he'd lead us into the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all. Good evening to each of you here, and welcome as we conduct business for the city of Georgetown for a city council meeting for Monday, January the 12th, 2026. Again, to remind you that we're here to conduct business for the city of Georgetown. Council, just want to remind you that when you're speaking, make sure you turn your mics on, and when you're not speaking, please turn your mics off. All right. That being said, we'll call the order, and Madam Clerk, roll call.
Sandra Wilkins-Grant.
Here.
Mr. Chris. Here. Mrs. Hamburg. Present. Mr. Hampton.
Here.
Mr. Mickey.
Present.
Mrs. Leslie Mitchell. Here. Mrs. Tingle Sain.
Here.
Mr. Stone.
Here.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item number 3, the approval of minutes for December 22nd, 2025, regular meeting. At this time, Council, I will entertain a motion to accept the minutes as read.
Motion, Mayor.
Motion made by Mr. Hampton. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second made by Ms. Hamburg. Are there further questions and/or comments? All those in favor of this motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Let the record reflect that it passed. Item 4, receipt of the check registry. If you have received it electronically, please raise your hand. Let the record reflect that all has received it. Item number 5 is public comments. We will ask that in doing public comments that you come and address and give your name for the record. You will have 4 minutes in which to state your business before this council. Madam Clerk will keep a time, and at the 3-minute mark, she will let you know that you have 1 minute left, and we'll ask that you finish up. And then at 4 minutes, she will ask you that your time is up, and we will ask you to be respectful and take your seat so others may be heard. All right, first on for public comments, I have David Wilson, and he's going to talk about Road Street paving and servicing.
I've been down once before. My name is David Wilson, and I've been to talk about this street. Now, I did make an error on this map that I gave you. I said that is Brown Street, MLK, but that should be Chambers. It did not run to Bourbon Street. That should be Chambers. But, of course, the thing is that if you look at the bottom of this map here, what does that say? 1879. 1879. And at Road Street, if you look up to your right corner, Road Street actually was already there. And they also may have called it Kirkley as well, and it has about 2 or 3 names. And I have a map here that you don't have, but similar to that. So what I'm asking is that that road be repaired, and taxes have been paid on it probably since 1879, and there's still not a road down there. When I was a kid, my grandfather raised tobacco down there, and we came up out of the hole and everything like that. But I talked to the city engineer, and he said I should make the road, but the road would be in front of 2 other people's property. And actually, the map will show up possibly 2 structures, 3 structures on there, and there were a couple other structures there at one time, but they have been demolished. So I would just like for the city to take that in consideration and see if we can't get that road put in.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Next, we have, is it Dana Barber, is that correct, on GMWSS issues.
Never done this before, so bear with me. I've been a resident of Scott County for about 23 years, moved here from Lexington. Love Scott County. Here in the past couple years, I know you all probably heard this before, there's been a lot of issues with the water bill, the water billing, the water company. It never really hit me until this year. I live on a farm, 30 acres, have a couple horses, live by myself on this farm. Back in, probably should have gave you all a copy of this. June, I received my average water bill. I usually use between 3,500 gallons. My water bill was $127. My water bill is usually between $19, $40. They said I used 10,250 gallons of water. Called the water company. We're going to send somebody to look at the meter. They look at the meter, no problem with the meter. I call my cousin, a licensed plumber. He comes out, no leaks. I call them back, you have to have a leak. Had a lot of health issues last year. I paid the bill, went on about my business. They insisted with a lot of people, you have a leak. You have a leak. You must have a leak. You must have a leak. The next month, my water bill went right back to normal. The month after that, it went right back to normal. The month after that, those 2 months were actually exactly the same amount of water. The month after that, it went lower. My October bill was even lower. I get my November bill, which was this past bill. It's $10,200. So it's almost exactly the same as the bill before. I do the same thing. I go out and check my meter, watch it for 30 minutes in the hole. It's not moving. Call the water company. You must have we're not going to send somebody out again to look at your meter. You must have a leak. I'm like, how can everybody have a leak? How come all these people that are calling, I know some people have leaks. How come everybody is having a leak? We can't not pay our water bill. If you don't pay your water bill, guess what? You don't have any water. I guess my question is, I know there was a huge mistake on the budgeting something as far as new projects with Scott County. My question is, why is this happening? Is there anything being done on your all's part? Is there an oversight committee with the water company? Is there anybody looking into all these concerns people are having? I'm not the only one voicing this concern. This is just the first time I've been here. I have the bills. Why? Why are our bills doing this? We need somebody to look at the water company. We need a committee of some kind, something. People can't afford to pay $400 and $900 water bills. I had a water leak at one time, which was my fault. I had it fixed. The water company, they adjusted my bill. That was probably 15 years ago. I live by myself. Why? We need to know why our bills are doing this. My mom had the same issue. Guess what? They told her the same thing. She lives over the hill from me. She's 77 years old. She uses, it was like 6,000 that month. Her bill went back to 680 gallons the very next month. Doesn't make any sense. We need to know why, and we want to know why.
Thank you, Ms. Barber. All right, next we have Dan Holman.
I'm Dan Holman from Georgetown, and I have several things to go over today. In case I also posted this online on the city's Facebook page where they post the agenda. I posted these items as a comment to that, if anybody wants to look at them. So there's lots of things, and I don't have time to go over all of them, but there's 3 categories, and one of them is GMWSS, which that's important. So let me take that one second, though. So category number 1, just transparency in general, and I think, so you all received an email this week from this person named Joshua Roberts, who and he sent you that. He's done a lot. I saw that email. I didn't work with him on that at all, but he's a member of the Water Complaints Facebook group, so he's very interested in water and very knowledgeable about water. So he took the time to write up a whole ordinance about transparency in general. Like, he's noticed that GMWSS is not transparent. For example, they're not transparent because they don't. Like the last meeting in December, the agenda for the meeting was not even posted on their agendas page until like 2 weeks after the meeting was already over. So people had no way of knowing what they were going to talk about. I guess they posted it on the door of the building, as they're required by law to do, but no one else in town knew what they were even talking about. So they should follow the model of city council where they post the full meeting packet online and post the YouTube videos online, because they record them, but they don't post it online for you to go find. So transparency of GMWSS and looking into issues like this all start with there. And this ordinance he suggested was general to look at. So we need to look at things like that and probably start with GMWSS as the model. I will now move on to those items about, and then by the way, the Georgetown Housing Authority Director, who just started not that long ago, has unfortunately retired. So that's just something to be aware of. And it would be nice to talk about it in the city and what you all really want to see happening over at the Georgetown Housing Authority. And I just happen to know that he retired because I happened to go to the December meeting, and he announced that he has retired. But it hasn't yet been in the paper. I hope they'll mention it soon. Okay, so on to GMWSS, so Chase is not here tonight, so a big deal is happening tomorrow. They're having their board meeting tomorrow at 4 p.m., and they're going to be presenting this long-awaited water supply update. That 3 years ago in December of 2022, they had a water supply study that showed a lot of interesting things, but that has never in 3 years been brought to the city council for discussion. That was never presented to you all. A year ago, in October of 2024, Chase mentioned that this thing was happening, and he said that I'd really love to schedule a workshop with the city council to talk about this, and so no workshop ever got scheduled. So we need these things to happen. But thank you. So tomorrow is I hope some of you all can attend tomorrow's meeting. That's an important meeting. And then the third item is just related to homeless shelters. Like recently, the Gathering Place, which is an important part of the community, applied to expand their homeless shelter over to the church across from Boston Community Park, and that got denied for lots of reasons. That was sort of ill-conceived in a few different ways. The building itself was never built as a residential structure, for one. But they need help. Instead of just doing this on their own and coming up with what they can, they need city help. And where do we want our next homeless shelter, emergency shelter, to be? So here I just mentioned 3 places to consider looking at. The City Hall building, I call it the City Hall jail building, will be vacated soon. When you all move back to City Hall, there's an available building to look at for some emergency shelter. The Justice Center is a large space that you could put cots out in. They're moving to the new building over here. And then this mother lode of a building over on the Georgetown College should be looked at.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Next on the item again will be mayor comments. I got a few comments to make, and then we'll move right on. First comment to make is that, Mr. Glenn Tall came and presented as to what some of the activities that's going on for the 250, and we would ask him to come and do a report. He's going to come on the 26th of our next meeting, and he's going to kind of give you an overview of what's going on 3 months at a time. So he doesn't worry about coming every month. He'll give you 3-month intros of what's going on. So stay tuned for that, and that's coming right at you, okay? A reminder, council, on February the 4th at 4:30 at the fiscal courtroom here, we're going to have our work session discussing regarding the information that Chief Johnson is going to bring to us about Fire Station 4, and was also talking about you asked him for some data as to about response times and so on. So he's going to bring that to us. So be sure to mark your calendars for that. And on February the 4th at 4:30 here in the fiscal courtroom. And the last item, and Mr. Holman mentioned that to you all, but Mr. Rick Tony retired, effectively was January the 5th of this year. What we have done is Susan Reif is our acting executive director, and the board is working towards contracting a human resource firm that will provide administrative part as we make this transition through. So stay tuned with that, and that's something that's coming up, and we wish him well with, in his retirement. All right? All right, next we have council committee reports, and we have fire, and Mr. Chris, who didn't have his homework last time, but he has his homework this time, so I'm going to let him go this time.
Sounds good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
So the Fire Committee met on December 9th, 2025, at the Georgetown Fire Department Training Center for a special called meeting. Chief Johnson provided an update on the department's apparatus. Engine 1 is now in service. Engines 2 and 3 are expected to be delivered by the end of March, and Truck 1's currently in production. Once the engines are placed in service, the department will have 2 backup engines and 1 engine dedicated to training. Chief Johnson also noted he's researching options for a backup ladder truck. Assistant Chief Ann Willett presented an update on fire prevention and community risk reduction efforts. Since September, the department had installed 24 smoke detectors. That number is up quite a bit now. She and their team visited Ashton Grove and the Senior Center for a fire prevention education seminar, and has scheduled smoke detector handouts at the pavilion, which took place last month. Fire prevention activities in local schools have been successful, with continued requests from schools for department involvement. Chief Johnson also discussed projects planned for 2026, including meetings with the Scott County School System, BCTC, to develop a fire-based dual credit program, research into the Center for Public Safety Excellence accreditation process, and a reminder that the design fee for Station 4 was, in fact, approved in the current budget. Finally, Assistant Chief Willett provided a code enforcement update, noting the staff are closing out open cases for the previous year and continuing to work on condemnations. Then the meeting adjourned at approximately 3:19 p.m.
Thank you. Mr. Chris. Next, we have a police report, and Councilman Mickey.
Thank you, Mayor. The Police Committee met on January 5th. All of our members were present. Our typical information sharing by the chief and his staff from a staffing perspective. The current staffing at that time was 69 officers out of 77, so they're at a 90% rate right now. They were hiring a new officer that week who is non-certified. They currently have 3 in the academy and 3 more going to the academy in March for the March class. And, just as a reminder, the PD has been dealing with a retirement wave, so that's where a lot of this is coming from. And the outlook for 2026, one potential retirement. So hopefully we're through that wave for a little while. On the dispatch side, they had 1 new hire that they were also having that first week in January. They have 4 potential candidates in process, and they still have 5 openings to fill. The next item that we talked about was an update on another staff member, the new K9 explosive detection dog that is currently in training and being certified and expected to graduate sometime in March to be able to put them into service. The chief also shared with us the annual crime statistics, and since that time, they've been posted on the Facebook, so you can get more details on there. I'll just hit the high points here. Comparing 24 to 2025, they were looking at stats across the 16 major categories of crime. 8 of those are serious Part 1 crimes. It's worth noting that the police department calls have increased over the last year by about 7%, up to about 40,000 calls. Dispatch, to put that into perspective, Dispatch, who dispatches all the Scott County agencies, that's 9 agencies across our community, had dispatched a little over 87,000 calls. So just to kind of put that into perspective for you. So in terms of the stats, The police department has seen an increase in 5 of the Part 1 crime categories: assault, homicide, rape, robbery, and theft. Arson cases remained the same. They also saw some increases in drug offense, fraud, and theft from motor vehicles. But they're seeing a lot of improvement in the other categories. So again, I would encourage you to look through those. In discussing those stats and kind of the activities that are going on, there's been a lot of ongoing conversation throughout the year of efforts to improve the activities. I'll just point to the traffic unit that has been one of the substantial improvements across the board that really has paid off. So the chief also talked about the education efforts across the board, and they're continuing those to focus on dedicating resources like that traffic unit. The chief also presented data to support the civilian traffic safety officers, another topic we've been talking about throughout the year as potential solutions to free up sworn officers to be able to focus on more urgent matters and have safety officers dealing with some of the minor things that happen throughout the year. Collisions, motorist assist, funeral escorts, those kinds of things. The other thing we talked about that was shared was from the narcotics side of this. The Angel program worked with 48 clients, which is the same as last year. An 8% increase in Narcan distributions that resulted in a reduction in overdoses from 71 to 55 in this past year. And the fatal overdose dropped from 17 to 9 last year. So, some really good work there to move the needle in those areas as well. So that's my report. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Menke. Next is on our agenda for tonight, item 8, Planning and Zoning Ordinance, Planning and Zoning Advisory Committee final report.
Okay.
Thank you.
All righty. So the committee was made up of myself and Mr. Menke and Mr. Chris. We started in about October when the council talked about it. So we have about 7 items that we looked. We could have spent years doing this actually, but so I'm just gonna. We have a report for you. I'm gonna ask after I go through this. Ask Emily to give it to all the council and to place it on our website as well, so the community can look at it as well. Okay, so we started out reviewing the proposed zoning text recommendations at the city council. You all received those actually. That came to us through Emily, through Planning and Zoning, Emily to us, and so we at that time asked to go ahead and send it out to all of you all to start taking a look at it because it's pretty dense. To determine the extent in which each proposed amendment addresses the committee's recommendations. So you all have a copy of that at this point in time. Item number 2, consider conducting an audit of the definitions, because definitions are kind of loose, some of them need to be tightened up, and the procedures and zoning ordinance for clarifications, consistency, and understanding of it. The zoning ordinance to identify inconsistencies. There are some inconsistencies in the zoning ordinance to try to get them all compatible together. Item number 3 is to consider implementing a form-based code or a hybrid approach to particular areas of the city to shift focus on strictly what uses are allowed to how buildings and spaces look and how they function, promoting walkability, the mixed use, because that's what we're going into is all these mixed use, and desire urban character. That actually makes it more in line and make it more in line that we can work with the builders, but keep it more in line with what the community is also looking for. Considered adopting a standalone zoning ordinance for the city of Georgetown because it's mixed together with the county and things that affect the county don't affect the city and vice versa. Consider implementing online portal for zoning applications, permit, access to ordinance, documents, maps, improve efficiency. Accessibility, transparency for all stakeholders involved in the local land use and planning process. So basically a more user-friendly approach to it for everybody. Consider a possibility of adopting the urban service boundary by ordinance, not just by the comprehensive plan. And item number 7, consider developing an inventory of vacant vacant and abandoned and unused properties, to see if what we can do with that. Might even answer some of the questions they've talked about affordable housing. So that's it in a very broad nutshell. There's some definitions, once you've all received the copy, of a little bit more explanation under it, so you can take it, look at it, develop your questions out of it. So, but then Emily prepared this for us. Emily did an excellent job, by the way, and thank you, Mayor, to your staff for helping us on this committee. They helped get it organized for one of us, at least. It's not organized. And so in the back part of it, you'll receive that too. There's some information from Mr. Minke, there's some information from Councilman Chris, and then there's some information from myself. So, Michael, do you want to say anything about some of your comments that you've got in there?
Certainly, I was definitely going to, and then what you put together echoed a lot of what I was going to say. I'd be happy to say what I was going to, but it might just be a little bit redundant.
Okay.
And I think you did a great job chairing the committee, and Councilman Minke, you did a wonderful job as well. And I'm really pleased with the way everything turned out. In the report that was put together, I think we all had 20, 30, 40 items apiece that we felt would be important just for future council discussion. Emily, as you mentioned, put everything together and compiled it. And once that's made public and able to be reviewed, then we can kind of go from there.
Absolutely. Kim, would you like to add anything to it?
Sure, just a couple things. So the way I approached the information that I shared early on in the process was looking at those major categories. Many of them Karen's already mentioned that were in the 7 that were talked about, but basically trying to put things a little bit into context in terms of the current state of kind of where things are, and then what the recommendation we should consider as a recommendation, and then what's the benefit of that type of recommendation, to kind of put things into context. Certainly each one of those, I think, we all need to have that conversation, because, some things may be similar, some things may be in conflict, and we just need to talk about it and see what's best for the community. The items that haven't been listed so far that I thought were key areas was under addressing growth and development needs, promoting a diverse housing options for the community and kind of how that breaks out, modernizing our parking requirements, strengthening our environmental and stormwater requirements, and then looking at signage and how we approach that. The other item that I wanted to, or 2 items I wanted to mention, is adding a section in there about community character and the gateway standards that we have coming into the community. I know that's really important for a lot of us. And then the last one was enforcement and long-term maintenance of the provisions that are there. So making sure that if we have standards, they're there, and working in coordination with code enforcement or whomever else it may be, to make sure that we're living what we say we're going to live. So.
Very good, Kim. All right.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
I know when we originally talked about this, there was some mention of finding a mechanism, or at least finding some bullet points to lobby state government for some of the changes that might need to be made there, so that we can actually implement some of the things that need to be done on the local level. So I just didn't want that to be forgotten. I'm sure you probably talked about it.
We did talk about it, and actually, I think the next tonight, to get this now has been made public. So to get this all to you all, and to also get this to the public on the website. So, and the next meeting, I would ask that we maybe talk a little bit more after you all have read it, after the public has had a chance to take a look at it, maybe the public has some input onto it, and take another look at it. But one of the things that I thought was quite interesting during this was how the legislature may change, and I really think next meeting we may want to think about, do we want to do a resolution or something to that effect to go to Frankfurt to say, we still want home rule, we still want to be able to say what we want to do for our community, not what you want our community to look like. Yep. So that's what I'd like to put that, kind of combine. You all having time to look at this and review this, and let the public review it, and then put that maybe for the next agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great, all right.
So when we started all this, we were getting ready to start having joint sessions to work on this with planning and zoning. And then we decided that we wanted time to look at it ourselves, so we made sure that the things that we thought were important to address were the first things that we talked about when we got together with planning and zoning, as we were going to have a series of workshops. So do you feel, I mean, it sounds like you have those items ready. Is it time to start thinking about when we have the first meeting with planning and zoning? Are we there, you think?
I would say after you all have a chance to look at this, I'd say probably next meeting, that's a conversation to have at next
Okay.
meeting. Because one of the things that we all saw and what amazed me is the definition. How many definitions there are for everything. And actually, all three of us saw definitions that we thought should be clear, changed differently. Because, I mean, there was times we all three disagreed. There was times we all three came together. And so on the definitions, that's something. And where you all received the text amendment changes, went through those, and a lot of those are about new modern technology that we haven't had to address, like the solar issues and things like that, and kind of that stuff. So I would think that stuff would be like low-hanging fruit to start to look, those two things to kind of start to look at. It's my opinion.
Well, I mean, and that was the goal, and I think that's great. So you think maybe after the next meeting, then we'd be able to talk about,
Just start
within the
talking
next
about
couple of
that.
weeks, we could, start planning for the joint meeting.
Yes,
That's great.
I would say so. Okay.
Thanks.
All right.
Well, thank you again, Councilman Sames, for chairing this committee and getting this some information to us. So we'll stay tuned. We'll take this and digest this, and we'll get back and see where we are from there and keep this moving forward. Like I said, let's be people of action, not just talking about it, but actually be doers of that. Thank you again. Item number 9, I thought you had a question. It's going to be second reading of the zone change ordinance, 1696 Oxford Drive. Sponsors are Michael Crisp and Kim Minke. Madam Clerk.
An ordinance changing the zoning classification of certain real property containing approximately 1.83 plus or minus acres located at 1696 Oxford Drive, Georgetown, Kentucky, from R3 to B4. Summary 1. Rezones approximately 1.83 plus or minus acres located at 1696 Oxford Drive, Georgetown, Kentucky, 40324, Scott County, PVA parcel number 188-40-006.000 from R3 High Density Residential to B4 Community Commercial. 2. Provides for repeal of inconsistent laws, severability of provisions, and an effective date upon passage and publication. The full text of this ordinance is available for examination in the City Clerk's Office, 629 North Broadway, Georgetown, Kentucky, 40324, or at www.georgetownky.gov. Publicly introduced and read for the first time December 22nd, 2025. Publicly read the second time January 12th, 2026.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this time, Council, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Minke. Do I have a second?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Second made by Mr. Chris. Are there further questions and/or comments? Yes.
Yeah, Mayor, just a quick comment that, so as this particular parcel is developed for its intended use, as daycare and those kinds of things, and as we have Lexus Way extension and all of the changes that are going to go on in that area, that we make sure that we're looking at all those factors as we begin the final development plan and approvals and all that for site distances and all of that for traffic and all those kinds of things. But I think it's a great use and definitely a need in this community for additional daycare. So.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Last month, I had the opportunity to go visit the property. I don't think I'd ever been on that property before. And there is an older church there, looks like maybe it was built 20 or 30 years ago. And I understand they're wanting to essentially convert that to daycare. I fully believe this is perfect for daycare. It also fits the comp plan to do this. There's a little bit of a visibility issue coming out of that property. Hopefully, the new ownership or the new daycare will address that so everybody gets there safe and sound. But otherwise, I think it's a wonderful project.
All right, thank you, Mr. Crisp and Mr. Mickey, for those comments. Any other comments, questions? At this time, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Mrs. Wilkins Brent,
Yes.
Mr. Crisp,
Yes.
Mrs. Hambrick,
Yes.
Mr. Hampton,
Yes.
Mr. Minky,
Yes.
Mrs. Lesby Mitchell,
Yes.
Mrs. Tingle Sains,
Yes.
Mr. Stone.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so let the record reflect that it passed 8-0. And now with item number 10, Finance, Municipal Order, Lane Runs Business Park Phase 3 Expansion Project Construction Contract Amendment. All right, Ms. Golden.
Yes, Stacy is under the weather, so I will be a sad substitute, but this is primarily a cleanup, and I've got Jordan Haney from Thoroughbred here to kind of speak to it. There's a new bid sheet in front of you all. This is truly just a cleanup of essentially a miscalculation of the bid items that were submitted. So Jordan, I don't know if you want to come up and speak further to that, but this is for the contract that you all previously approved with RAIM Contracting for construction of Phase 3.
Jordan Haney, Thoroughbred. As Devin indicated, in reviewing back to the bid items, the bid sheet we provided, the actual bid quantity for the 4-inch conduit is the item of change. The contract that was submitted, the bid form had 5,800 linear feet. The actual bid form that was sent out to all the contractors was 5,900 linear feet. Those were unit price items, so it's just a cleanup of that $3,400 or so from the inaccurate item.
All right.
Yeah. And
Okay, okay, Mr. Hampton?
Make a motion.
You want to make a motion? Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second made by Ms. Mitchell. Now, are there further questions and/or comments? Just to Mickey.
just a quick comment. I think one of the things that's important, since this is a PDI project, making sure that we have those documents correct so that the charges can go back and be funded are really critical. So thank you for catching that, and so that we're not having to make up any difference down the road.
Okay. Any other comment? Motion has been made, properly second. No more other further comment and/or questions. All those in favor of this motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Let the record reflect that the motion passed. Thank you. Item number 11, Police Municipal Order Special Response Team MOU with Georgetown, Scott County Emergency Medical Services. All right. Assistant Chief Nash, are you going to talk about this?
I am.
Okay, thank you.
So we have been working with the EMS with getting medics for our special response team, and we've come to the agreement on an MOU that was first started by the county to kind of outline how that was going to go, and there's things in place there that talk about who's responsible for their pay, who's responsible for their overtime, who's responsible for their ballistic vest, protective equipment, and then also their uniforms. And then there's also a clause in there about the standard that you would have to meet to be on the team and any confidentiality issues that could arise with having a non-sworn officer mixed in with a tactical unit like that, because there's a high-risk component with the SRT team. So Cam Culverson was gracious enough to type up an MOU and work with Emily, and that's where we have come to.
All righty. At this time, I take a motion. Okay, beat me to the punch here. Okay, motion made by Mr. Stone, second by Ms. Mitchell. Are there further questions and/or comments?
Sorry,
Mayor, I would say that being from the police department, and although I was not on SRT, but working in close with those folks that were, and with the medics that they did have, This is a very needed position because some of those guys go into a pretty bad situation from time to time, and they need those medics there close by when situations could go bad. So it's something that is needed, so.
Thank you. Mr. Mickey?
Yeah, I want to echo Todd's comments as well. I think this is a great partnership and a much-needed activity. The one question I had was, when I read through the agreement, it had a fixed 2-year life. I guess I'm just wondering why there wasn't something that, if all parties were in agreement to continue it after 2 years, other than, instead of having to come back and redo something.
I think the reason for the 2 years is so we can go back and look at if we need to make any changes.
Sure.
Obviously, there's a clause in there, if something's not working,
Right,
we can go back
right.
and address that. But also, we're growing so quickly, there could be things that come up that we're not thinking about right now
Sure.
that we could go back and put inside of that MOU to just make us better. Some things, technology is advancing so quickly right now that
Yeah.
who knows what's going to be available in 2 years.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of this motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Let the record reflect that the motion passed.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Item 12, council discussions, old business. Do I have any old business?
Mayor, just wanted to give an update on, and first off, Mr. Brewer, if you could, I'd like to talk to you after this. Is it Brewer?
Barbara.
Ms. Barber.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to butcher your name, I'm sorry, but I'd like to speak to you after this. But had some illness in my family, but, things are going better. We'll be looking into all the issues with the water company, looking at the board, and I'll be getting back with the full council on that. So just want to give everybody an update on that.
All right. Okay. Any other old business?
I'm gonna take that. I wrote down water company, because she is not the first to come in front of us. So there has to be some problem going on that is being missed, because they're having the same complaint. And the funny part of it is, like her example was, the next month it's back down to normal, and she didn't water her crops, and she didn't water gardens, and she didn't water. So there is got to be a problem. We're seeing too much of it happening, and it's the inconsistency of the bill. Because you gave a great example, the inconsistency of the bill of this month it's real hot, and then it goes down, 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 and then the next month so it's high again. So there's got to be something.
I have several examples of that in my notes too.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the water company seems to be saying that it's an anomaly, or it's just there has to be a leak or whatever, but I just think there's too many people talking about it for it not to be something.
Something's not right. So,
Okay.
and I'm aware of that. I've got several examples of it, and I'm gonna be looking into that as well, so.
Okay. Well,
All right.
but-
May I ask, Todd, is he on a committee for the water company? Or
No.
for complaints? And I wanted to address Ms. Barber too. I work there, and I understand their frustrations. I get a lot of calls, and I can follow back with the people that call me. But I was wondering, since people come in for complaints, or comments, for comments, how do we know they're getting resolved at the time? I'd love to be, if you make up something or have something where I can take the person's name, I can follow through with the water company, so I can know that these people are, getting the answers back. I would love to be part of a committee if you could come up with something like that. I will take the responsibility
All right.
for that, because we don't know when they come in if they're getting their answers, back with their situation. And, and I don't feel like.
Excuse me.
The only answer I got.
Excuse me, ma'am. Thank you.
Wish you were looking at me.
I'm sorry. I try to look at you, and another thing is, they shouldn't be, I'm not disputing what she said, but they shouldn't tell her that they're not gonna come back out again, because she pays the bill, they're the reason, the customer is the reason they have a job. So they need to come out every month if they have to. So if you can make up something or some kind of committee, I'd be glad to take complaints, get back with the constituents, and go from there, because I'd like to know if they're getting the answers, or they're
Okay.
just getting pushed away.
Mayor, if I could say, originally when I spoke to this issue
Chase came and he gave what I thought was a decent presentation, but one part of it that I brought up that I still think could be helpful, kind of linking in with what you said, is when people call with these complaints, could we figure out how many, could we keep a tally, even if, I mean, I don't need people's names and addresses, but I think we need a tally of, not just scattershot, Todd's got some, I've got some, Karen's got some, Sonja's got some, and then, and I'm not trying to give extra record keeping, but I think that this is a consistent enough problem that we're hearing about, that we need to
Look into.
get some data collected. What are the complaints? Is it all leakage? What's going on? And again, how is it resolved? I don't think it's all that it's Kentucky American. They think they're on Georgetown water, but you're actually on, that's some of it. But it can't be all of what we're hearing.
And
So-
we asked for that.
We did.
When we had the presentation.
We did.
We asked for a breakdown, a report, like maybe monthly or at least quarterly, on the number of calls that they got and what they pertain to, and what the resolution was.
And we haven't had that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it'd be good if it mirrored something that Republic Services did with us.
Okay. I will get staff on that and talk about that. All right. Any other on old business? All right, on new business.
I have something.
Okay.
So it was brought to my attention by two different sources this past week, or last week, that the Bluegrass Rides is starting to charge $1 again. What happened is when they originally came, they charged $1, and then when COVID hit, when we were going through, trying to help people, who were at risk, where we could, they stopped charging. And starting January of this year, they started charging again. And it was brought to my attention that it was a hardship on people riding to the Amen House or, different places. Probably a hardship no matter where they rode for some people. And so I contacted the mayor and Devin, and we've all talked together. And what we would like to do, what we're in the process of doing, is finding out from the people at Bluegrass Ride what it would take for us. I mean, what is that actual cost that they expect to make from charging $1 a person? And then considering whether we have the resources and where they would come from to, as the city, to do what we can to eliminate that, so that maybe we find a way to pay for it so that it doesn't impact those citizens who are at risk. And then the other thing is that, and Devin and the mayor are in the process of gathering that information, which I appreciate. And the other thing that we wanted to do is next week we have a interlocal meeting, and I think that this is probably something, it can't be a lot of money in proportion to what our budget is, in my opinion. If it's $1 a ride, we ought to be able to figure out a way to do something. But I think it also is something that the county would want to take part in as well. I don't want to speak for them, but I plan on asking that at the interlocal meeting next week. And so the hope would be that by the next council meeting, maybe we would have something that we could say, if you're interested, if you would be in favor of, we could do this budget change to take care of that, so that they wouldn't have to pay
grant
anything.
money out there, search for grant money for something like that?
Pardon me?
Grant money, just find grant money?
There has to be some way. And, even if we did it through this budget cycle and then revisited, whether, like we do with the nonprofits or whatever, however, that's what we want to nail down and bring to you, is a way for us to take care of that so
Okay.
that the citizens.
Before I get to your question here, I'm going to ask Devin, you have some information I want you to share, because maybe some
Yes.
information she has would be helpful, okay?
Yeah, I can share what we've gathered so far, and I know Tammy covered a lot of it really well. this is coming from Bluegrass Community Action Partnership, who is over, it's a nonprofit agency that administers Bluegrass Ride and a lot of other local services. So they submit under our regular grant application cycle, but not for Bluegrass Ride specifically. According to their director, Kentucky is one of the few states that does not at the state level allocate funds for local public transportation. A lot of other states do, so they're federally funded to provide this service, but there is a gap there. So they actually shared some interesting ridership numbers, which I think is a great thing that their ridership numbers are going up. Folks are using the service, but they went from, I don't know when this was, that it was an average of 300 a month, I think, at inception, and they're more at 4,000 riders a month. So it's pretty significant. So reached out just to understand what that gap would look like in the funding, and based on their trends, it was a little bit more significant than I would have expected. It's around $60,000 annually. So that's that $1 to meet that gap that they've identified. So like Tammy mentioned, there's opportunity there. If we were to approach it this way, I think that we would, and I know Finance Committee's talking about an amendment to our policy that could allow this kind of funding allocated mid-year, or it could be part of their regular annual funding request if it's something the council's interested in supporting and the mayor's interested in supporting. So that's the number they provided. I did also ask if any of their communities, local governments allocate funds for vouchers to provide to like nonprofit partners, for example, specifically to serve their clients, and they said none of their other partners and communities provide local dollars. So that was an idea that was floated, but they don't currently do that. Also asked questions about communication about the fee, because obviously there wasn't a fee for a period of 5 years. So they said all of their signage on the buses is making folks aware, but they haven't updated their website yet. So just kind of put that on their radar in terms of community information, but that's kind of what we've gathered at this point, just on their ridership trends. But if there's any other information that would be helpful to you all as you consider this, glad to reach out. Their director is really great communicator, good community partner. So,
All right, Mr. Mickey. Mr. Mickey, you had a question?
Yeah, I mean, to tag on to what has been said, and another key point from a funding perspective, workforce, the local workforce board and state workforce boards do have vouchers for business ridership. So, if you need transportation to get to and from for work, so that's a potential avenue. But I was going to raise this at the end, but I think it's more appropriate now. I'd had some business folks reach out to me that were trying to hire folks that were in the trailer park on the south side. And that's not serviced right now, and there's no transportation from that area to Georgetown. So the investigation of being able to potentially extend service there, to Georgetown, for the groceries and doctors and everything, but also for employment. Because, there were some folks that were ready to take jobs, but they couldn't guarantee they could get there every day. And that's a problem. So, being able to maybe bridge that gap, but I thought this may be a good time, if we're talking about, potentially having to do some additional funding or subsidizing of some sort, that we ought to really be looking at, are there other areas, and certainly the trailer park down there, I would have to believe has to have a significant ridership that could potentially utilize that service.
And what I would say too, that's a good point. While you're looking at it, look at everything. When we originally talked about the vouchers, it was a person that was having to pay to go to the Amen House. And so my first thought was, well, maybe we give money to the Amen House and maybe they could give vouchers and pay for it. But then the next person was going somewhere else. And the person who's going to a doctor's appointment or going to work or going to get groceries is probably having the same issue as somebody who's going to the Amen House. And so while that's probably the reason that they don't do vouchers for it, because we couldn't sit here and decide, well, this is a worthy one for us to subsidize and this one's not. If we think that this transportation is what we need to do for our citizens, then we don't need to be judging which services they're using with within those stops. So that's kind of why, the vouchers were, it was my first thought as well. But then it was like, why is the Amen House more important than getting to the doctor's office or getting to the, it's the same impact on the same person, whether they're going one place or the other. So we'll have more to come at the next meeting. Just wanted to, it's good to hear thoughts and so that we can cover those and bring something back.
Is there something formal you need to be able to look at extending service? Anything that I could provide or I can get?
We don't know yet.
Okay.
On the extension of service, I know it's been years, but when Bluegrass Ride kind of rebranded and made their, kind of rerouted their services, it was when we were meeting over at Georgetown Municipal, actually.
Right.
They came and did a presentation. Might be due for another just kind of update, face-to-face. But also, I know they haven't rolled it out here, but they're working on the Bluegrass Ride circuit. They're working on some regional routes. So I'll look into whether that south side is going to be incorporated there. I don't know if it's the Nicholasville. They've rolled out one of their regional routes, I believe, as a pilot. So I'll get more information on that just to see where they are, and we'll continue to have those conversations, and then internally look at, whether it's something that you all want to support as part of a budget amendment, or whether we can find a way to accept a request for that. But they're most certainly open to eliminating that charge if it's locally funded. So stay tuned.
All right. Thank you. Okay, other new business.
Mayor, I have something that I want to throw out to the council for a consideration. We were fortunate enough to get the $6 million over what we had expected to come in our net profits. So I'd like to propose to the council to consider, we have to do it before the end of March for it to be effective for next year, but to decrease our insurance rate. Right now it's 8%. To decrease it to 7%, maybe even 6%. If you decrease it to, it's about a little over $8 million that would get in from the insurance. If you decrease it by 1%, then you're at $7 million that we would be still receiving. So to offset that of what we wanted, some of that we've gotten in for the net profits, for the overrun in net profits, could offset that for our budget, yet we could be giving back just a little bit back to the citizens of our community by changing it down to 7% or 6%. That'd be dropping another $2 million. But just to do, it's a very small, it may be a small amount to each individual that pays insurance, but every small amount matters. So I would like to propose that, and that we do that before the 31st of March to reduce it 1 or 2%.
So,
the insurance tax.
so you're talking,
I'd be willing to co-sponsor that with you.
Okay.
all right?
So could we ask for there to be for Emily to write up an ordinance and bring it, since there's two of us to sponsor it, to bring it to the council and let the council vote on it?
Yes, if we can do that.
Okay.
If you can do that, Emily, thank you.
What's the percentage that you want to start with?
Todd, since you're going to co-sponsor with me, we're going to go 1 or we're going to go 2? Let's go 1.
And I just want to clarify, the deadline, it would be March 23rd.
Okay.
That's the notice to the state if you make a change to your ordinance. It's 100 days before the beginning of the next fiscal year, essentially. So
Okay.
any action on this would have to be probably before the 23rd, just so
Okay.
we have that communication gap if this were to pass.
Yeah, if you could get it back to us either the next meeting or the first meeting in February, that'll give us time to get it done.
And I'm sure that this will have further discussion, but in light of the surplus you mentioned, I mean, this is a worthy idea, but there might be other worthy ideas that we might want to talk about if we've got, a couple of $1 million that we're talking about putting forth, is this a better way to do it for our citizens, or is a playground that they've talked about through Park and Rec and Drew? And so I don't know if we should unilaterally just focus on this, or if it should be a larger discussion.
The reason of putting this out on the table today is because of the timeline to do that. So we have a longer timeline. We still, if I'm in my mind using that as that $6 million, that still leaves you $5 million to do those other projects that would be done for the community. But almost everybody, and why I'm suggesting the insurance in particular, is because almost everybody has to have insurance, whether it's your house, your car, if you're a renter, you have renter's insurance. So pretty much everybody pays some kind of insurance. So it's just a little bit of giving back to the community while we can. There may come other times later that we can't.
Right.
But we've still got the extra that we can do in some capital projects, and at least $1 million that can go back to the community, say, okay, we got this, we acknowledge you all are all struggling and might like to have a little bit of it back and give it back. And then, because you can always change it in the future, if it goes back, you can always change that rate and go back up on that rate. But for now, I think we could go down at least 1% and still be able to do other projects that we need to do.
Mayor? Could we ask maybe Stacy to look at the impact that would have on
Yeah.
our budget?
Yeah.
Please?
Yes, we can do that.
For the remainder, I guess, when would it go into effect?
Will you go in effect for next year's budget?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So what impact that would have on next year's budget? And, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's fine. And also got to remember that we still got some things that we got carrying over that we got to make sure that we cover. So let's make sure, let's say, but having her to look at that and see where we are about things we need to carry over and fix first.
Right.
Because if we're talking about just taking and spending it for this and we don't cover what we should have already been covering, then that's not good for us either. So let's kind of keep that in mind with that. All right?
So just one thought that, as we look at these kinds of things of changing tax rates and things like that, perhaps we ought to look at a strategy or a standard around if you end up hitting certain trigger points, kind of like the state income tax that, if you meet certain trigger points, then this happens. If you don't meet those, then
It stays.
it doesn't. So, to keep from looking at this from a perspective of, well, this year you've got it, net profits is something you cannot predict. And so you get this big swing, and now you've got this big tax bill or this deficit in your budget. And so you're ping-ponging, changing tax rates because you're limited at how many ways you can raise income to provide the services to the community. And so to prohibit that kind of ping-ponging, that perhaps you put some kind of triggers in there, whether it's reduction or increases, because that way you've got something you can go back to that says, well, we're trying to be good stewards of your money, and if there's an excess, then, potentially everybody can share. But at the same time, when it's not there, we still want to provide the level of services, and that level of service keeps going up.
Well, you can put.
So you have to be able to keep going, being able to have those kind of trigger points to go up or down if in fact you need to.
You can put a sunset clause in it. We did that once before with the, actually it was raised, and then there was a sunset clause in it. And then it forced the council to vote on it, whether to leave it the same or to let it go retro back. That was an
Right,
increase, not
right.
a decrease. So you could put a sunset clause even in this, so that in 2026, that it's going to be this amount, and then the council is forced to vote on it before the following March as to whether it stays at that or it goes up or vice versa.
Well, I think the ordinance could be worded that we already have one of those triggers in place, and that's the 30%.
Yes.
So, maybe in the ordinance as part of that trigger is that we don't fall below that 30% reserve balance.
And the only, I think it's a great idea. The only thing that I would think about being on the Finance Committee and, serving before is that it's been very hard to predict net profits. And some years it might be $1 million, and some years it might be $18 million. And so, in my mind, the most responsible thing to do, since you cannot be sure that you will be able to keep up, is to do one-time projects when we do have an excess. Not where you need recurring where you impact recurring revenue. That's just my thinking. I hear what you're saying, and we certainly need to do something because of, the state that we're in. I mean, we didn't expect it, and so we need to give back. What that looks like, in my mind, I would feel better if it was a one-time thing that wasn't going to keep affecting us year after year in case we don't see the same thing next year.
Well, that's why you have the 5 million, that you can do that and give back to the community in a form of some type of project, capital project, usually is what you want to use net profit. Then you take the 1 million and give back to the pocketbook of our consumers, our taxpayers, our people that are in Georgetown, and actually give it back to them.
Yeah.
Put the caveat in that it's a sunset. And so then you'll know the following year, by that time, about your net profits, whether next year you're going to need that or you're not going to need that. And the public is fully aware that there's a sunset in it as well, to make them know that there's a possibility that could change. The problem with the insurance is our rate is 8%. It's not the biggest in the state, not the smallest in the state, but it's 8%. And the unpredictability is the insurance keeps raising up. So that means the 8% that everybody's being charged keeps raising up and making their insurance bill
Right,
even bigger.
that's an important point to remember.
Yes.
Just because if the rate is lowered, the insurance rates will go up, and any savings to the taxpayer could be very, very minimal.
And I believe that it probably will be, because I know how much I pay in insurance, which is more substantial, and because I have a business and my home and my car. But somebody that doesn't have a business, it's not going to be as much. That's true. But any little bit that can go back to somebody to help them offset a bag of groceries maybe in a year's time. I mean, that's what we're probably talking about for most people, is a bag of groceries. Well, so be it. We give it back to the people and let them go out to eat, put it back into the economy that way or something. Let them be the choice with their money and give that part back to them. But let them understand, if we do this, put the sunset in it, and it forces the council to vote on it next year. It forces the council to be aware of what's going on with the budget, like you say, whether we're going to get net profits, we're not going to get net profits, and make that decision again that year. So that way the public has a little bit back. The public is fully aware of what's coming down the pike, how it could change for the following year. And then it puts the force back on the council to make those decisions, council decisions, not a mayor's decision, to whether we continue or do we say, okay, well, we're going to need this extra income. And so, yes, you got a small break, but the following year, we're going to have to. So.
Well, and I would ask too, Kim or Greg asked that Stacy look at the impact.
Yeah.
Because I think, I heard you say, like, if we have 6 million over, that let's do 5 million in projects and 1 million in giving back.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, I would think that might be the most responsible thing to do, to me, is to see where we stand and what it really looks like, because we have committed to building a fire station next year.
Mm-hmm.
And to go and say we had a $6 million overage and we're going to spend it all without thinking that maybe some of it could go toward some of the projects that we need to do, especially considering, we've been able to pay for City Hall in cash without having to bond and get into debt service cycles that have recurring revenue. And so it would be prudent to look at some of the big projects that we've committed to, like the swimming pool and the Cloverleaf at Great Crossing, and definitely the fire station, and also the police station. Those kinds of things, when you get something that seems like a one-time hit that you can count on, in my opinion, that's what we need to be looking the most closely at. I agree, the community deserves to benefit when we do well. And what the best way for us to do that?
I think it takes some thinking.
It does. It takes a lot of thinking, and I'm glad you brought it up because that's one more thing to think about.
Yep.
But there's a myriad of things to think about that we all ought to, start thinking about.
Yeah.
Mr. Stone, you good? All right. All right. Is there any other new business to be brought? All right. Thank you for that conversation. It was very, good that we got it out there and people get a chance to express themselves and from there, so now, at this time, we'll have council comments. Since I'm looking down at you, Mr. Crisp, you get to go first. Go.
All right, I have nothing tonight, sir.
Ms. Sames,
I'm good.
Mr. Minky.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for arranging the tour of City Hall, kind of the status of where we are and kind of laying out, kind of the anticipation now of being able to move forward here in the coming months. One of the things that really kind of comes to mind is when we're able to finally get in and we've got, new technology, new equipment, those kinds of things, I think it's time for us to look and make sure that we're looking at our existing processes and kind of updating. And if there's some standardization that we need to do, like some of the transparency stuff that has been mentioned today, as well as, in previous meetings, that we look at that and we reestablish some of the standards to make sure that we've got good participation and exposure and information sharing, in our websites, as well as, with the new technology to be able to record meetings and post meetings and all of those kinds of things. So just being able to think about that, as a new start, and really think about, what we need to look at moving into this coming year, moving forward.
Thank you. Ms. Hambrick.
I agree with that. I thought that the tour was very enlightening. I was very excited to see all the major improvements, and I think the public is going to be very pleased with the job that's been done. Thank you, Mayor.
All right.
I'm good.
Okay. Mr. Hampton.
Just echo Councilmember Minky and Hambrick's comments about City Hall. It's really taking shape, looks good. I hope that, I know that the wait will be worth it. So, also, I guess, next Monday being Martin Luther King Day, we're going to be rescheduling the Finance Committee meeting.
Right.
And I think the tentative date is Tuesday at 8 o'clock at the police station.
And before I get to you, Ms. Mitchell, I have something to say here. So just a reminder, and I sent something, an email out to you all today, that on Saturday at 9 o'clock is the Martin Luther King Annual Breakfast. If you want to attend, I have the tickets, so let me know, and I'll find a way to get those tickets to you. I got one for each one of you that wants to go. All right? Now, Ms. Mitchell?
Today, sorry. So this is what happened this week, and I want to say thank you to the police department. One afternoon this week, Highland Court Seminole Trail is one of the streets that, when we had the traffic study, the traffic calming study, it was one of the top streets for speeding. And a truck went up the hill. I'm not clocking it, but the neighbors were all outside, and they said it was 60 miles an hour. It wouldn't surprise me. I think the average speed on that street is probably 50. So what happened was they called me immediately. I wasn't outside. And then I know they called mayor as well. And I said, I can call the police or dispatch, 911, whatever, as a citizen, and that's what I'll do. And I know some other citizens called the mayor. And very quickly, they responded, and they said, what do you think? Do you need some patrol there? You want the traffic unit there? And if so, what time? And everybody worked together. The very next day, they came up for an hour and maybe an hour and a half, and they wrote 7 citations in an hour and a half. They came back the next day, and I don't know how many, but because we stopped counting at 5. And then, yes, the day after that, when I came home from the grocery, someone had been pulled over and was in front of my house, and the traffic unit was behind it, and I couldn't get in my driveway. And I knocked on the window, and it was Elliot, and thanked him and said, I'll move my car when you all get out of the way, because I was close to a fire hydrant. And he said, y'all don't mess around up here. I mean, he said, you meant it. It really, it's a dangerous situation. And we've talked about some of the calming measures, and the people actually up through Seminole and Highland, they watched when we talked about that, and they were expecting speed tables, I think. I don't know where they, that maybe that's what they wanted, and so they sort of expected that. And when we paved it, and they thought they were getting them then, and that's not the way it works. But we need, and so it's like, where are our speed tables? And so we've all seen that traffic study. We know what needs to be done and where it needs to be done, but we haven't moved on it. And I'm asking if maybe we can have another report, maybe from Eddie at the next meeting, and maybe we can start to think about like knocking out, I think in Indian Hills, it was 3 streets. Maybe we can start with one and then go to the next and go to the next. But, that might be a way, if it costs money, that might be a way to spend a little bit of that money, because it's a dangerous situation. Last summer, there was a double-sized dumpster that the people across the street were using, and it was a little bit in the road, and someone coming down the hill, you're looking directly east, and the sun was coming up. You can't see. And they were coming down the hill at probably 50 miles an hour. She hit the dumpster, and she hit it so hard that she moved it. And when she stopped moving herself, her car was facing west. And I can't believe she didn't get really hurt bad. Her car got torn up, but she didn't get hurt badly. But there are a lot of children, somebody is going to get hurt there. And I think, Sonia, your daughter lives there. And anyway, it's an ongoing, it's been going on for years. And a stop sign, a speed sign, that's not going to change it. It's wide open, as Todd has said forever. It's a mile long going up through there, and without any calming measure. So I'm hoping that that's something that we can move on. So, and I do want to say thank you all for paying attention to that and coming over.
So just to comment on what you just said, matter of fact, I had a conversation with Eddie about speeding. So what's going to happen is he's going to get with Chief Allgood, and what we're doing is they're going to kind of go out and taking the data from that the study. We're going to look at some particular streets. You got Seminole, you got Gano, you got those streets, and what we're going to do is from that prioritize, says which of those are the high traffic areas, and bring something back, hopefully, to say, because if that's a tier 2, which means that it has to be done through council, because we're actually altering the street.
Right.
So it's not like putting a stop sign there.
Right.
Okay. So we alter it, we're going to have to do that. So we are working on that.
I know you are, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
And we'll just hang tight. We'll have something for you soon. All right. Clean up, man. You get to go.
Okay.
Oh, my. All right. With that being said, anyone involved with this council, this meeting is adjourned.